tune in to the show, Alicia Reece Soul Food. All right, let's see. Are we able to get me on camera? Okay, they're working on it. All right, so we're on radio right now, and want to tell you we got a great show coming up. Alicia Reece Soul Food, food for the soul. And okay, there we go. All right, y'all. I want y'all to see my new Cincinnati Reds fit. I got the new fit on. Maybe it'll help us. We've been winning a few games, and want y'all to see it. Got the Reds. Yeah, I got the new Reds outfit on. I gotta push it back a little bit so y'all can see the hat. Want y'all, there it is. See the hat. All right. All right. Listen, we got an action packed show. So we're going to go ahead and get started with Alicia Reece Soul Food. Let me get my mic right there. Let's see. I might should be able to get it. We'll keep working on it on the video. But we got the mic and we're getting ready for Alicia Reece Soul Food. So listen, it's Minority Health Month and it is my birthday month. Oh my gosh. So we're going to tell you about my birthday party, but I'm going to just remind you, we'll remind you at the end. I've got a community birthday celebration. It's going to take place on Thursday, April 30th, the last Thursday of the month. It's going to be at the place, and it's formerly the skating place. So all my skaters and then non-skaters, y'all come on out too. We're going to line dance. We're going to have fun. Just stop on by to say happy birthday at 6:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the place off of Coleraine. Now, it's so important because you know what time it is. It's time for what? It's time for the hot sauce moment. All right, it's time for the hot sauce moment. We're going to get right into it. I'm very excited that we had a great turnout for our youth employment, our 513 Relief Bus Youth Employment Kickoff, our third annual Youth Employment Kickoff. And I just love what took place. We're talking almost 1,000 youth that showed up, and it was a packed house. And I'm just so excited. Can we get that picture one more time? Are we having a little trouble? But it was super packed. 1,000 youth came in to the West End. We've had some shootings and someone got killed and stabbings. Let me tell you, the youth came out. There was no killings. There was no stabbings. There was no cursing each other out. There was no fighting. I need y'all to get that to go viral. And these young people came out, almost 1,000 of them. Parents were there, grandparents were there, uh, wanting to have an opportunity for youth employment. And so we have 1,300 jobs with our Office of Youth this year. And that's why I've been fighting for making sure we have some money for the youth. I know we got cuts here and there, but we got to fight for these resources. So 1,300 jobs available for youth. We also said, let's reduce the barriers. You know, when you go to get a job, they say you got to have a physical. So now it costs you. No, we took that off the table. We did free physicals on the bus. Shout out to UC Health. We had lines of people to get free physicals. They said, go, you got to have your birth certificate. We had the birth certificates printed out for free on the bus at the 513 Relief Youth Employment Kickoff. No cost. The health commissioner himself from Hamilton County, Greg Kesterman, was on site printing out the birth certificates to help our youth to get that price off the table. Work permits, they were doing those on the spot. Youth were lined up. So it was a huge success. God gave us great weather. And I want to give a big shout out to Pastor Quentin Monroe of Jarrell Missionary Baptist Church and Jarrell Missionary Baptist Church for partnering with us again. And we had the parking lot. And when we needed tables, extra tables, they brought tables. When we needed chairs, they brought out extra chairs. Anything they could do to make it comfortable and accessible for our youth. But I want to tell you, I want to destroy the myth. Everything in the West End is not bad. My grandmother lived in the West End. My mother grew up and lived in the West End. 1082 Land Street. I had to throw garbage in an incinerator where it had fire. It's illegal to even have an incinerator now. And all of that, and to think that my grandmother would say her granddaughter, my mother would say her daughter, we came back with resources, jobs, free physicals, work permits, free birth certificates in the community. And we had people come from all over the county to come and be there for this 513 relief bus, youth employment. And it's the third year. I came up with the idea 3 years ago. This is our third year doing it. Third year. And it was a huge success. And the others were successful as well. But please, we went into they said they ain't going down in the West. We came down in the West End, not just to walk around. We came down and we brought job opportunities, free physicals, free birth certificates. Now, this is not the norm. I want to tell y'all because people go, because things are happening. That's what they supposed to do. With 235 years we've been in existence, they ain't done it. So we have that going on, and the county, we're changing things. We even moved into Bond Hill. I remember I used to get beat up. Reece want to take everything to Bond Hill. Well, we brought the county. Our board brought the county to Bond Hill, not just visiting, but with a whole campus. All of JFS, Jobs and Family Services, is there. And we're getting ready to have our first county meeting there. Well, you'll get a chance, and I'll talk more about that next week. But just think, West End, Bond Hill, with resources, it just hasn't been done before like that. So we're gonna just wanted to have everybody know about that. The next thing really quickly, because we've got guests on today. We got our Washington report. We got Dr. With Congressman Greg Lansman will be coming up. We've got Dr. Joe Hackworth. He don't come out of the surgery room. One of the top cardiologists in the country. He'll be coming on for Minority Health Month. But I want to get back to these concerts. Now, when we had the Bengals deal, I want to just tell you the concerts, the county owns the two stadiums, but there's a lease. That's why I was on this lease. The lease allows for the Reds ownership and the Bengals ownership. They're the ones booking in these stadiums. Now, we don't own all this stuff. We also have Memorial Hall, but Memorial Hall, this is all before I got there. They have an agreement for the booking of Memorial Hall is 3CDC. That's why they call it Memorial OTR. So y'all can understand that. But it is owned by the county, but we don't handle bookings because we got a contract situation. Okay? We can't change everything in 2 terms, and they've been doing it like this for 200 plus years. Okay? The 2 stadiums, when they got the deal, that's why I was on the stadiums. Y'all said, why she own it? All we want to do is put on our Bengal stuff and our red stuff and go to the game, which I got my red stuff on. I'm a fan today. But I got to go beyond the fan. Now, in the original deal, it said for the stadium, Paycor Stadium, Bengal Stadium, the county and the Bengals are supposed to get together and select a person, an entity, not just a person, because this is big deal stuff. This ain't just, you gotta dance in a party. This is a stadium, right? It is very expensive to go into the stadium. Very expensive. We did the veterans thing at Great American Ballpark. It cost $200,000, and that's with the county doing it at our own facility. So these are not small things. So it takes a certain kind of concerts, certain kind of backing, certain kind of insurance, certain kind of experience to have these large concerts, okay? Even not just here, but across the country. So I said, well, wait a minute. I found this in the contract. Why haven't we gotten someone that we both can agree on because this is supposed to be a revenue generator to help also in the county to cut the costs on the local taxpayers because we're trying to bring revenue in. And so there's some things that I tried to have. I tried to have a watch party. They wouldn't do it. Then they came back, did a watch party, and the Bengals get all the money. I came back and said, let's get the WWE SmackDown. It's huge. They had it in Cleveland. They said, talking about, we got to the party too late. We didn't know about it to just now. We lost Beyonce. She went to Louisville, didn't come to us. Now we've got Bruno Mars. Bruno Mars has gone to, he's going to Indianapolis. He's going to the Ohio State Stadium in Columbus, and he ain't coming here. Then you got Usher and this Usher Chris Brown. They're only doing stadiums, and they're going to Cleveland Stadium, the one that Cleveland wants to tear down. And they do not have a dome yet in Cleveland. So, and then some people said, well, wait a minute, maybe they're going there because, fighting and crap. They going to Chicago, for God's sakes. They going to some other places that have even higher crime rates than we have here. So with all of that, I said, where is the person that's we supposed to have met with them, the county and the Bengals, and select somebody to book the concerts? They have not gotten back with us. Jeff Aludo, he still got the call over there and beg and hope. And I brought it up at the meeting. Take a look and listen. Cincinnati, Bruno Mars, he done passed us up. He's in Columbus, in a stadium. He's in Indianapolis, in a stadium. Why did Bruno Mars not come here? I don't know who we got booking, but we were supposed to have that. And we keep saying, we're working on it. And they're booking concerts. They book somebody that had advertisement. They do the same thing, 2 concerts a year. We need more out of those facilities. That's what we said we was going to do. So I want to know who is doing the booking. And every time I call, we got to call over there and get permission. I thought the contract say we're supposed to be having the booking, so we know the books, we know how much money was brought in, we know, did we save the taxpayers some money, did we bring some revenue in? We can't just pass over and say we're working on it. I don't know how we're working on it, and they're booking, but 1 or 2 a year, and then we done missed Bruno Mars, and he is a stadium concert. Then they just announced the Usher concert, and they're going to the Cleveland Stadium. So people have been calling us saying, why are they bypassing us? Paycor Stadium. These are stadium things. Usher and Chris Brown, they got stadiums. Bruno Mars, stadiums. He's at Ohio State in a stadium. And I like Ohio State, but I think didn't we get some new seats or something? Our seats are supposed to be more comfortable. So please get back to us. Why are we missing it? Who's in charge? And when will we be at the table on bookings? Because we're supposed to get a plan. We're supposed to get how much money we might bring in, all those kind of things. So please, we can't keep waiting. People are booking. Concerts are being had, and we're left behind. All right. So that's what's going on. We'll keep you updated, and we'll go from there. Don't forget the music when we transition. But listen, is the congressman on the phone? All right. All right, y'all. Y'all know what time it is. We're going to take you now to Washington, D.C. A lot is going on. You're seeing it on your social media. You don't know what's real. You don't know what's fake. We're going to get down to the bottom of it with our Washington report with Congressman Greg Landsman.
It's time for the Soul Food Report from Washington with Congressman Greg Landsman, brought to you by Landsman for Congress.
All right. Did we get the congressman on?
I'm here.
Okay, we got to see you. Just 1 second. We're trying to get you.
It's coming. I do like the outfit. Wait, I can't hear you now.
We won in a few games, but hopefully.
Wait. Where'd you get it? Did you go to the pro shop?
Yeah, the pro shop. It's the pro shop. So I had the other one, the all black, which I still like the all black. It's pretty tight.
I have an all black UC jacket, which is sweet.
Yeah.
But I think for the red, you got to have a red jacket.
You got to go red. And hopefully this will give them some more luck. We've been doing pretty good, but then we go up, we go down. And I'm hoping for a really a great season for us. So I got this on.
Let me ask you something. What did they say about the bookings? About everyone going to these other cities?
Well,
they come back tomorrow? Like, what did they say in the meeting?
Well, the administrator said he was going to call over there, but that's the problem. We should be calling for permission. We're supposed to get hire a booking company that knows how to do this, right, and get all of the information. We still don't know how much money we made off of Taylor Swift because we're in a partnership. It's $100,000 to rent the place per day the taxpayers.
They know. You know they know.
They know. I
So
want to
wait,
know how much money and where is our side of the money to
when
give
Jeff
back to the
says
taxpayers.
when Jeff says I'm going to call over there, does he mean the Bengals and
He
who is?
calls over to the Bengals and trying to find out what's going on. But we're supposed to have a joint booker that should be giving us a report each.
Yeah.
And I've been saying this for 2 years. That's why I didn't really support this lease. The last one was horrible. This one is still horrible. And I said, hey, what about the bookings? And we always tiptoeing. We're always going over there like we're begging. We're the landlord, and we're going over here begging. And I said, I wanted them to get WWE SmackDown. We lost to Cleveland. That would have been huge economic benefit. I've
I
tried to get
also noticed that.
Beyonce. We lost Beyonce.
When you lose Beyonce, you gotta like that somebody's but to your point, and I think this is true for everything. So I'm not, and I know you're not picking on them. This is true for everything. Like you got to have somebody in charge. And like
Right.
if you don't have somebody in charge, like who is the person?
Yes.
Who is
Yes.
the person?
Who is the person? And then where's the report? Because we want to say, okay, we're going to go after all of these. And then we come back. Here's what we got. We had the game. I think it was Saint X got moved down there, but it was the last second. We've been saying we want more sporting, but we still have not received any report on did we make any money? How much did it cost? And so you just can't run a business like that, let alone taxpayer dollars. And these other stadiums, I mean, Bruno Mars, we lost him. I mean, he went to Ohio State, which is an outdoor stadium. He's going to Indianapolis. He's going all around us, but not here. And so we've got to get more aggressive. And people ask me, they say, and I want to tell people it is not the Cincinnati Visit Cincy is not their job. It's a booker who understands whether it's Live Nation or Black Promoters Collective or AEG. We have to decide who it is. And then, like you said, give us a report. Here's what we're going to go after. Here's what's out there. Here's how much money we can bring in. Now, here's how much money we did bring in. And then where do we put those dollars so that we can reinvest in the citizens? So I've been on them. They say, oh, we're going to do it. We're going to work together. And they're booking stuff and ain't even hasn't even told us.
I really do think the key is to get one name. That way you could just work directly with that person.
Exactly.
Cell phone number. I'm going to call them.
Exactly. Well, Congressman, I know you've been back and forth here. You've been on the ground.
In a couple hours. Let me tell you what, last night, we have to pass this national security, FISA bill. This is the bill that allows our, intelligence folks to interrupt terrorist plots. And there's some legitimate questions and debates about it, but Republicans have always been sort of the national security crew. They cannot get this thing passed. I mean, they couldn't bring it to the floor. And because they've got, folks, they're fighting over everything. So they were supposed to vote on it. This is a very important bill. They were supposed to vote on FISA, a national security imperative, at, I think, 5:00. And then they said they didn't have the votes. And then they brought us back in at midnight. And we started voting, and they didn't finish until like 2:00 in the morning, and they still didn't have the votes. So in the middle of the night, we're all just sitting there, and he had called a vote. Mike Johnson called a vote, didn't have it. And fortunately, they agreed to a 14-day extension, but they cannot get their act together on anything, even the things that they used to be, pretty reliable on, like national security. So it's frustrating when you think the day is over, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then they're just like, no, we figured it out. It is midnight. And so we're going to vote in the middle of the night. And you walk back up to the Capitol, and we're all sitting there. And for 2 hours, we waited. They didn't have the votes.
Wow. They seem to be doing a lot of extensions. And talking about that, let's go with the government shutdown.
Yeah.
Where are we? Because we are on an extension. We don't have a permanent fix. They keep extending things. Tell us about what's happening with that, because people are nervous. Are we going to shut down again? Am I not going to get paid again? Yeah. They figured out, I guess, TSA, is that permanent or is that just a temporary fix? that the Republicans put together?
So it was something that let's start with TSA. It was something that Trump could have done from the beginning. We had pushed him to say just pay TSA, and they ignored us and ignored us and ignored us and said they couldn't. And they let these lines in airports grow and grow and grow. They screwed over these TSA workers when they knew they could pay them. And then they sent ICE in to these airports to do absolutely nothing. Right? They really had no role. All the while they were sitting on TSA paychecks, and finally Trump agreed to pay TSA after I don't know how many days, and they missed their bills, and we lost some TSA folks who it's going to be very difficult to get back. And then the Senate agreed to the bipartisan deal we had put forward. We in the House had put forward, close to the beginning of this, where we said, look, there are some fundamental changes that need to happen to immigration enforcement. And until those changes are made or agreed to, no additional funding for ICE or Border Patrol. And the changes are very simple. It just brings those agencies into compliance in terms of being law abiding, right? But we said, fund all the other law abiding aspects of DHS, and the Senate passed it unanimously. And then Johnson was going to bring it to us, and the same group of people that held up that vote last night on national security, on protecting us from terrorism, they held this thing up, and Trump and Speaker Johnson caved to them, and so they won't give us a vote on a bill that the Senate passed unanimously that would fully fund every aspect of DHS except for ICE and Border Patrol. But remember, they have, almost $200 billion in money from that huge spending package they call the One Big Beautiful Bill. They have plenty of money.
Yeah, let's talk about that. People, tell me how these bills in terms of affecting affordability. Gas is $4 a gallon, eggs and bacon, all of that. Where are we on that? Are we ever going to be able to get to where people's paychecks can help, pay for all of this stuff that's unaffordable?
I mean, there's going to be some short-term relief. The Strait of Hormuz is apparently open again, and that brought oil prices down last night. So hopefully people will start to see that at the pump. That was the big driver of gas prices going up, is the uncertainty around Trump and the mismanagement of this conflict in Iran. But it does seem like they had some sort of breakthrough yesterday, and in the oil markets immediately react. They just want certainty, and so prices for a barrel of oil came down, which means you should start to see prices at the pump come down. The larger issues of costs are bigger and require, I believe, a couple of things, and this may mean a new Congress, unfortunately, because this current Congress won't do it. But we're just a couple months away from electing a new Congress. You got to rein in the tariffs, his tariff authority, and you've got to get Congress to say you can no longer do these global trade wars where you are jacking up the price of everything. The second thing is I think Congress has to get very serious about corporate consolidation. In most of these sectors, you have a few companies that have, 50, 60, 70, 80% of the market share, and they drive up prices. And that's been going on for a while. The Ticketmaster thing, I don't know if you saw that.
I saw that. Live Nation and Ticketmaster.
Yeah, they have 80% of the primary ticket market, 50% of the secondary ticket market, and a jury, that means Americans who were sitting there looking at it, we were like, yeah, that's antitrust. Like, you are violating the federal antitrust rules. If you go to other sectors, you go to meat, you mention groceries, there's a few meat companies that control, I think it's 80%, maybe it's 90% of the market share. That's why meat costs go up, right? Because they can jack up the prices. There's no real competitiveness. And I don't know if you remember in 1996, Congress had the courage to break up AT&T. AT&T got to 80% of market share. Mm-hmm. And we broke up AT&T, Congress did. And now, if you look at wireless, 3 companies have 80%. It got consolidated again to
Yeah.
a couple of companies. So Congress has to go into each of these sectors and break this stuff up. I mean, this is like antitrust 101, and that creates competition, which means everyone's fighting for customers. Prices will come down. In terms of wages, I think in the short run, the most important thing we can do is fix the tax code where you got the super wealthy starting to pay all their taxes, and then you start investing that in reversing the healthcare cuts and housing and in what I would call refundable tax cuts for working families, which is they get additional resources every month.
Yeah, because I did my taxes, and they said, "Oh, they're gonna cut taxes," and I walked out, and my check is very, very short. I'm paying probably more than Microsoft. I said, "Where's this MAGA special and all that stuff?" Mar-a-Lago. Do I need to have an address at Mar-a-Lago for me to get something? I mean, just it's killing. If it's killing me, it's killing. People that are working, 2 and 3 jobs trying to make it, and so that's so super important. I didn't see any cuts when I walked out of there. The lady said there's no MAGA specials, there's no Mar-a-Lago specials. Nothing's been cut. I walked out of there
It was
with
one of the most unpopular things they've ever done, I think, was they voted, and we fought this and fought this and fought this. This one big beautiful bill, it's $4.5 trillion they spent. Most of that was on tax cuts that went to the super wealthy, millionaires, billionaires, big corporations. They got the big tax cuts. And most people didn't see any real changes, except if you got your health care through Medicaid or the Affordable Care Act. They kicked 15 million Americans off of Medicaid. That's happening over the course of next year, really. I mean, it's starting to happen a little bit now, but they wanted to have those cuts start after the midterms, even though you're starting to see more and more, hospitals shrink services or even shutter their doors. But they took $1 trillion out of the healthcare sector from us, from the folks that you and I serve. Refused to pass the an extension to the Affordable Care Act subsidies, so people are losing their health insurance. Also, they could pay for these tax cuts for the super wealthy.
Absolutely. Well, Congressman, I know we're wrapping up, but we got to ask this question. It's what everybody, I want to give you a chance to answer this question. This war that people are concerned about, and I'm always give peace a chance. I'm not big on war, but talk to us about your position and where we are on this.
I mean, hopefully it's coming to an end, though I did vote for a war powers resolution yesterday saying, like, look, if this thing goes on, he has got to come to Congress. He can't continue. Trump can't continue to pursue any of this without Congress. It still failed in the House. It failed in the Senate, but I supported it. And, I believed that and still believe that, because I'm a peace guy too. And the only way to peace really in that region is to deal with how much money Iran is spending on terrorism and investing in enriching uranium so that they can get a bomb. And even though we, destroyed the enrichment facilities, you have enriched uranium underground, and they were building back up this weapon shield. And so the original operation was just to get rid of that weapon shield. And Trump's job, which they did for the most part, Trump's job was to communicate effectively. He failed. Build a coalition. He failed. And declare victory when the operation was done and be done, which he failed to do. And so, again, I voted for the war power stuff. We're going to continue to push on that. But I do hope it's coming to an end and that the latest on the Strait of Hormuz is a signal that this is almost over.
All right. Congressman Greg Landsman, thanks for calling in. And
always.
Just remember, Congressman, I don't trust that guy up there. Don't turn the keys over, please.
Oh my God. He's the worst. Absolute worst.
Keep fighting. And we'll have you back on. We got to talk about this voting. So we'll be back on next
Yeah, the
time.
SAVE Act, man. This is the biggest thing. We gotta keep them from passing the SAVE Act, and then ultimately get a Congress that passes the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. It is essential.
Congressman Greg Landsman, and it's a primary. He's on the ballot, and we'll talk more about that next week about what's on the ballot for voting. Voting has started at the Board of Elections. You can go right now and vote. Now, remember, vote early, don't vote late. And at the end of the day, we've got to, the Congress, we need the seats. We got to win seats. It's numbers in Congress. The more seats we have, the more we can get done. But if we don't have the seats, we can't even, nobody won't even hear what we have to say. So we've got to win primaries, but we also got to win the general election because that's when the person actually gets the seat. All right, it's Minority Health Month, and I've been trying to do it. We got our Minority Health Month segment, and we want to sponsor by Interact for Health, and we have it once a month. Alicia Reece Soul Food Health Month, and I've been on the track. I'm back on the track. And I've been walking the track. I used to do a thing on the track. People say, "Are you going to do it again?" It was almost like Forrest Gump. People started joining me. It was during COVID. People would join me at the Withrow track. Well, I'm back on the track. So y'all can check me out and be able to watch me back on the track. You can join me on the track, but don't come on here bringing me no problems on the track. We'll be back on the track. We're getting ready for the countdown to 55. Boy, that's a countdown to 55, double nickels. And so we're back on the track. We're roller skating. We're walking the track. And I wanted to have this person, you can't hardly get him because he's always in the operating room. One of the most renowned cardiologists, and he's interventional cardiologist.
Well, thank you, Lee. It's just good to see you and see you in great form. You're doing well.
Well, I appreciate it. The first thing he said, are you exercising? Are you working out? Are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? But Dr. Hackworth, we're gonna start with your background. Tell the people who are listening and watching, where are you from? You from the South.
Yes, indeed. I'm from from Alabama. I grew up in Alabama. Went to school at Tuskegee University, and went to medical school at the University of Alabama in Birmingham.
All right.
And
And why did you go into, because there was not a lot of black doctors, I don't think, that was in the cardiology space when you were coming into the doctor program.
no, actually, there weren't. It's a specialty in the internal medicine group. And my intent was to go become a primary care doctor and probably move back to Alabama. But I got in, everybody had to do rotations on different specialty areas. So I got a chance to do my cardiology rotations and my GI rotations and my rheumatology rotations. And cardiology was fascinating. And I looked around and saw that what I thought was going to be the growth, new areas in cardiology, new things that we had not done before. And my career has not been I've been happy with that decision.
No dull moment.
No dull moments. Something new all the time. Yeah.
So what got you here to Cincinnati, Ohio?
So when you finish medical school, you look around for places to do your postgraduate training. And I just happened to, my brother, Roy, who's deceased now, was living here teaching at Seton High School. And I had not lived him since we went to different colleges. I went to Tuskegee, he went to Alabama A&M, and we had not lived near each other for several years. And I said, well, this is an opportunity for me to go live near him and be with him again. So I applied at Cincinnati, University of Cincinnati, and they accepted me, and everything's history from there.
Wow. And so what was the first hospital you were in? Was it UC or?
It was called the Cincinnati General Hospital.
Cincinnati
at that
General,
time.
yeah.
You've been around here long enough to know when the old General Hospital that took care of everybody, and and then subsequently it grew up and became University of Cincinnati Medical Center.
Yeah. Now, is it hard? Because we got to go back. There weren't a lot of black doctors in what you do, or were there any in this area? And then how was it to be the only black doctor and trying to, being an area that wasn't common.
Yeah, there weren't any at University of Cincinnati. There were some around the country about my age, my generation, who were learning all these new specialty and subspecialty things, and it was a wonderful world of exploration and discoveries, and every day there's something new coming out. You read the articles that are being published in various publications, and it's all new, and you read about it, and you keep up with it, and then you want to say, I want to do that. I can do that. I can see how that can work. And over time, you get to where you get a chance to do it. And at some point in time, we have this notion, and we call it see one, do one, and teach one. And so you go, may have to go someplace else, maybe University of up the Cleveland Clinic or Mayo Clinic, to see it being done, and you say, yeah, we can incorporate that, bring it back, and do it. And then you start teaching the people who are around you what to do and how to do it.
Wow. Now, did you go into private practice, or did you just were you with the hospital, or did you ever go into the private side of it?
Well, yeah, when I got out, I went private practice. I worked primarily at Bethesda over on Oak Street when it was there,
Yeah.
and one of my fellows who was in training with me, we both saw an opportunity there, and we both joined up and started a practice together. I never went solo practice. I went a group practice, and then very shortly after, we took in a third guy, and then we grew up to about 16 guys doing cardiology.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, it's Minority Health Month, and I guess there has to be a reason that a difference in your patients, in your studies, in your, in your work in terms of heart disease, because it's taken out one group even more than another group. What's causing that?
Well, I got to go back in time to 1915. Booker T. Washington, who founded Tuskegee University, and it was Tuskegee Institute at that time, proposed to the nation that we begin National Health Week, Negro National Health Week, and then it has subsequently grown to Minority Month, where we cover everybody, not just because at that time we had a world of black and white. In Alabama and places around, there were black people, there were white people, and then the blacks were always getting bad health care and surviving less long than others. So he proposed that, and it's now grown to where it is right now. So, and I've done my part trying to enhance that, and I think you're doing your part, because one of the things we say now is that good health begins with you and the individual person. They got to look up and say, what am I doing? What can I do better? And as you point out, don't ignore stuff. Back in the past, I think many of us, and I've seen it so often, where people get some symptoms, they ignore it. They say, well, they don't care. Nobody's going to do anything about it anyway, blah, blah, blah. And they said, well, okay, they keep ignoring it, and then finally something breaks. And I think that we're trying to push people to accept uh, that they have symptoms and to get it looked at, do something about it. Preventative health care, which is on the market and on the scene now, and being looked at more and more.
Yeah, because normally it's almost when it's too late, then we kind of run in. Versus, like you said, what can you do to prevent it? Now, let's get a little more technical. Um, I know we talked about high blood pressure, and they say heart attacks is the silent killer, that one, and strokes. Talk to us about that. Why is it the silent killer?
Well, we've long time said that high blood pressure is the silent killer, because many people don't know. They don't know they have high blood pressure. And so everything's fine. They go to work, they do whatever they got to do, living life, going through daily life stresses that we all have, no matter how much money you have or whatever. There's something that stresses you. And so ignoring it. So it becomes the silent killer. So after a period of time, it's kind of like, I look at it like that. If you have a leak on the kitchen sink and it's leaking water, and it may not make noise, and if it doesn't get on the floor where it's wet when you walk by, it's slowly causing rust and erosion and decaying your floors. And so over a period of time, it's just silently doing its damage. And at some point, something's going to break or whatever, and then you got a problem. So high blood pressure is one of those things that, and it's so relatively easy to identify it. Now, if you identify it, that means that that's going to be a cause to have some action. And so people will say, well, it ain't bothering me. I'm not going to bother it. And that's their life's philosophy. And so high blood pressure, unchecked, untreated, eventually leads to damage to the heart and to the coronary arteries and to the brain. And that's when you get a stroke or you have a heart attack. And that's when it becomes not so silent anymore. It creates quite a bit of discomfort most times.
Well, we're talking to Dr. Joe Hackworth. And now talk about, so we got the high blood pressure, but I don't really understand how the cholesterol plays a role, because a lot of people, they just say maybe my cholesterol's high and they kind of like downplay it. But cholesterol also can damage you and you can have a heart attack.
Absolutely. I look at cholesterol kind of like being the high blood pressure. In other words, you have it and it's high and it's sitting there for a long, long time. And when your cholesterol is high, we have what we call the HDL, which is a good cholesterol, and we have LDL, which is a bad cholesterol. That's the one that penetrates into the wall of your arteries and causes it to build up bulk, and it basically starts to narrow the vessel. And when it narrows the vessel, then the vessel at some point can get so narrow that it blocks off, and that's when a heart attack or a stroke can occur. We know people will have high cholesterol for years and years, and I think in large part it's genetic, but a bigger piece of it is dietary, what we eat and how we don't check it. So, and I've been around this thing long enough now to know that if we can get the cholesterol numbers down, and I'm talking about the LDL, the bad cholesterol, my target in most people has been for years to get it down to about 50. That's the magic number for me. Some of the newer items from the American College of Cardiology are now trying to push it down to 45 or 30 as a target. So when I see someone comes into the office and the LDL is like in the 100 range, 150 range or 200 range, I go into a fair big of distress myself. I said, we got to get this down because you are a heart attack waiting to happen. And until that vessel narrows enough that the blood's not going through, most people don't know they have it. And again, that's one of the simple things, easy thing to get checked out. Get your blood pressure checked, get your cholesterol checked, and go back to the old saying, know your numbers, know where you are, know where your sugars are, all those kind of things. And all those things today are treatable.
Wow. And so sometimes, that's a high number. And then they've got the medicine that's supposed to help bring it down. When you say get it checked, meaning like go to the doctor and get a check, or is this something you can check at home? How do you know it's working? The medicine's working.
Well, it's a simple blood test.
Okay.
Much like getting your sugar checked or your hemoglobin A1C checked. It's a simple blood test. And then I just saw recently, forgot which company is going to be releasing a home check. So you don't have to go to a doctor or go to a clinic or whatever. You can just check it at home. So all those things are going to make it easier. And then blood pressure, there are clinics, there are churches who are having, and then organizations. The Cincinnati Health Department has a robust program to help monitor and do preventative testing and preventative evaluation. And then you can know where you are. And then from that point, you know what you need to do. And then, just make it your mind to go ahead and take care of your business. And enhance your life and your longevity and capacity to do things.
Got you. Now, what is this where they say you have to get is it a stent? Is that what it is? Something like that.
Yeah.
And that's, I hear a lot of people, I had to get a stent put in.
Yeah.
And is that in the heart?
It's in the arteries around your heart. If you take your fist and you make your fist with it, and you see the veins on the outside of your fist, well, the arteries to the heart are arteries on the outside of the heart. They're the ones that carry blood to the heart muscle. Although the heart has blood inside and it pumps blood to every part of the body, it has to have its own supply of blood as well. So it gets nutrition, it gets oxygen from that. And so these vessels on the outside of the heart will send small vessels into the heart muscle to supply it. So when it's working, it's like putting gas in a car engine. It's got to have something to go on. And so some of these vessels, over time, the cholesterol builds up inside the vessel wall, which narrows it. And when it gets narrow enough, then that's when you're at higher risk for it completely closing down. Then you have a heart attack. But as it's narrowing, it decreases the blood supply to the heart muscle. And at some point, people do get chest pains, pressure, heaviness. They just break out into a sweat, or they lose energy. They just can't do what they used to do. And a lot of guys I know will say, "Oh, I got some distress in my chest. I just ate some bad chili, or I ate too late, or whatever." And that happens. You get bad chili or bad whatever. But more often than not, people having it's a symptom of their blocked arteries. So what we do a diagnostic angiogram, some other tests before that time. And once we identify what the vessel looks like inside, we can see where the narrow choke points are. And once we identify those choke points, then we can put a little wire mesh inside that vessel and inflate it, and then it opens the vessel up like new, and we can get it back to a normal look. And so that's what a stent is. And some people need a lot of stents. Some people just need one stent or something. And we try to do it before that vessel closes, because when the vessel closes, that means you're having a heart attack. You're in the middle of having a heart attack. Wow. And then we've got a period of hours to get it open, and we can save that piece of muscle from dying, because once that muscle dies, it's gone. It's gone forever. You don't get it back. It's just becomes scar tissue. So,
wow.
And you got to live with what you got left. So we try to get that artery open as soon as we can, stent it, open it up. And now we've gotten to the point where we can actually put stents into the valves inside the heart, which are like the gates that allows blood to go from one chamber to another chamber to another chamber. Sometimes those valves get gummed up and they get narrowed and create issues. And so we have stents now where we can put that into the valves around the heart, open it up, and avoid having to have open heart surgery frequently.
Wow. Speaking of that, what's a heart monitor? I hear a lot of people say, I'm on a heart monitor and they're monitoring me. What is that? Is that, I don't know. What is it?
Well, it's a technical device that you put on your outside of your chest or in your phone, and it can just monitor what your heart's doing when your heart beats. There are people who black out, and we have to figure out, why are they blacking out? Did the heart stop for a second or two, or whatever? And more commonly these days, and you get into something that's near and dear to me, is atrial fibrillation. And people have heard about atrial fib, or AFib, as we call it sometimes for short. That's where the heart becomes very, very irregular. And you can either get really slow and black out, or just go too fast and you go into heart failure because your heart's just beating too fast. Or, more importantly, you are at high risk for getting a blood clot inside your heart and creating a stroke. And so today, everybody who goes into atrial fib, if we can identify it, we try to treat them with a blood thinner medicine to keep them from getting clots inside the heart and keep them from getting strokes.
Wow. So blood thinner can be, so the monitor just keeps it on track. And if you see something, then they got to come in. Is that what the?
Yeah, so the monitor just trying to identify what's going on with yourself and with your heart. And if you're in atrial fib, AFib, or if you're having a heart where some people's hearts just stop every so often, it stops and made it stop for 10 or 15 seconds. If you stop for 10 seconds or 15 seconds, you're going to black out. And we see it in older people who just, worn out or outlived their own pacemaker. And so that's one of the easiest things in cardiology to fix, is putting a pacemaker in. Now, the other thing about monitoring, we used to have you come in and wear an outside monitor, like a tape recorder, and you wear it for several days or whatever, maybe even several weeks. Today, we have smaller monitors that just attach to your phone. And we have a newer commercial product called Cardia. I'm not here to advertise for anybody. But when you're feeling skip beats or like your heart is beating funny, you can get one of those. It's $79 or $80, and it attaches to your phone. You just download the app to your phone and put your fingers on it. When you're feeling something, it'll tell you what your heart's doing. And pretty good accuracy too, by the way.
Wow. Now, what is it when they say you're either have a enlarged heart or your heart is going so fast, but you didn't do anything. You're sitting down, but your heart is moving so fast.
Yeah, yeah.
What is that
Yeah.
called, or what should people be worried about?
Well, we talked about AFib, right?
Right.
Some people can go into AFib for the heart just because, and it can be AFib that lasts for 10 minutes or 20 minutes or hours or whatever. If you get AFib with the rapid heart rate, then if you're going on for hours and hours, the heart poops out. It can't keep beating that fast for that long.
Mm.
And so if you go on for hours and hours, the heart starts pooping out. It starts weakening, and it starts dilating, and that's just because the rhythm is so bad. So that's where we get in trouble with, and so it helps to identify that. So again, the heart can go. You go out jogging, for example, you can get up to 150, 160 beats a minute for periods of time. But when you start going for hours with this going that fast, then it will dilate, enlarge, and get weaker, and then at some point it poops out.
Wow. Now we saw it on national TV. Damar Hamlin, when he played right here at our Paycor Stadium, scared us to death. They said he went down and no heartbeat or anything, and they brought him back. And so one of the things we've been working on is getting AEDs in with Sheriff McGuffey. She has them now in the sheriff's cars, and people are saying you need to have something available. Is this something you should have in your home?
It's an expensive proposition.
Okay.
So, but some people who have a certain condition should have them in the home. I do believe that some maybe 20 years ago, around that, most of the big institutions where people congregate will have AEDs. Like you go to your church, probably got one someplace. It may be lost in some drawer someplace, I don't know. But if you go to a mall, if you go to a sporting event place where lots of people, there are AEDs. It should be in the hallways or something, and it should be marked so that and there's service there and there. So in that now, as far as having one at home, it becomes fairly pricey. But some people do need them. And then we put a defibrillator into people sometimes, so that they have their own AED already built in. So there are some people who have conditions that require that.
Yeah. Now people would say age has nothing to do with it. Now this person. I mean, they work out obviously because they were on the. They made it to the professional NFL. So people ask like, how can that happen to someone who's in shape? Probably eating right because, an athlete usually eats right. How do they end up going into cardiac arrest? I mean, we're seeing it more and more with athletes than we've seen, I would think, in the past.
Yeah, I think we're watching. We have so much television and so many cameras everywhere these days. So we're seeing a lot more. Proportionately, I think we do see a higher number because we are recording everything. In Hamlin's case, I believe it was one of those once in a million year type event because there were so many things that had to line up for that to happen. He got hit in the chest at the right time, and it caused his heart to stop. And when I say the right time, I don't know if you've ever seen an EKG, but the EKG shows these little spiky lines, and there's a certain point on the EKG between the one beat and the next beat where if you get a trauma to your chest or your heart, it can make your heart stop, go into a VTAC or VFib. And that's what we think happened to him. It was a rare occasion. And so it must have timed up that he got hit in the chest in the right place at that moment. And that caused that to happen. He happened to be lucky enough not lucky enough. He happened to be in a place where by design, there's a life squad there. They have all the equipment there. They have the defibrillators there, and it seemed like they got to him a little bit later than I think it should have happened. But again, it's something you don't expect. You don't expect this young fellow to go. Back years ago, we heard about cases where direct blunt trauma to the chest can make this, and we heard about guys who, for example, farriers, people who were shoeing horses, and the horse kicked him in the chest, bam.
Ooh.
And then he died. And so that's it. But there were no monitoring. There were no nothing. But we make the draw that maybe that's what happened to him. But in this young man's case, there were monitors. They got to him fairly quickly, and he actually I was at that game, and
oh my goodness,
and the players all stood around him to protect him from the camera, so we couldn't see it. We just knew there was commotion going on.
Wow. So the other thing, Dr. Hackworth, as we're wrapping up, what can sleep apnea? I got to hit that point. Because they tell me you need to take a sleep apnea test because if you live alone and you may not be breathing the whole time.
Mhm.
Talk about that because I know there's people who stop breathing, and how does that affect the heart?
Okay, so imagine that you got a car with an 8-cylinder engine on it,
Mhm.
right? And so it means you got 8 spark plugs on it. And all of a sudden you take 4 of those spark plugs away. Well, it's not going to run very well. And so you got 4 of 8 working, and it may go, it may hump, but it's not going to go so well. So what happens in those situations, there's tissue in the back of the throat. And when we sleep at night, that tissue relaxes and it goes into our airway. And when it goes into our airway, it just blocks the hole, so to speak. So when you're trying to breathe, you're trying to suck air into your lungs, but that tissue is blocking it. And so some people get, and it depends on how much blockage, some people get a lot of blockage, such that your oxygen levels go down. Your brain is trying to sleep, but your oxygen levels are going down and stay down. So the longer you are in that position where you're not really getting air, your oxygen levels drop. And some people really go all 8-10 hours at night, may have oxygen levels down to the 70s, which is very, very low.
Wow.
And so over time, the heart has to function without much oxygen going on. And so the heart starts dilating and starts getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And so over a period of time, it makes the blood pressure go up. So there are a lot of dynamics that goes on with that. So, and that's only been in the last 10, 15 years, we've identified sleep apnea as a potential problem. So it's getting a lot of attention now.
Dr. Joe Hackworth, thank you for being on the show. Thank you for being here. And, he's the best in the country. So thank you for being here, giving us an update. We'll have to have you back soon. Any quick advice that people need to do?
I think that you are the keeper of your fate. I think that individual person needs to really look after themselves with help from everybody else and start going out demanding, asking for this, because people over years say, well, I'll be all right. I don't need to help anybody help. And so one other piece is that maternal health we still have a high percentage of people in the Black community who are dying 30% more at that compared to our white community. Why is that? Why do we have that? What can we do about it? We have mental health. We don't talk about mental health very much, and it needs to get a lot of attention because everybody's got some issue. Yeah. Everybody's got some stressors, and so we need to not get the stigma off of mental health and have people get some assessment, evaluation, and try to figure out how to change things around.
All right, Dr. Joe Hackworth, thank y'all so much. We're going into gotta go. It's the weekend, baby. Y'all know it's the weekend, baby. And don't forget my birthday on Thursday, April 30th, 6:30 p.m. until 6:30 p.m. until 9 p.m. So check us out. We'll keep you posted. And I'm gonna hit the track. I'm gonna stay on the track, y'all. Join me on the track. I'm trying to get healthier. All right. Until next time, everybody. Peace.